After days of intense negotiations, Ottawa's point person on trade left DC with no deal, insisting that's better than a bad one.
We're not going to accept any deal because of an arbitrary timeline that the Americans set. We're going to do the work that's necessary to get the best deal for the country.
For now, though, Canada is facing a 35% tariff on Canadian imports not covered by the existing CUSMA deal, in addition to higher tariffs for sectors like auto, steel, aluminum, and copper. In a statement, Prime Minister Mark Carney said the Canadian government is disappointed but remains committed to CUSMA, adding, "We will continue to negotiate with the United States on our trading relationship." Negotiate but also hit back, says Ontario, calling for dollar-for-dollar counter tariffs on steel and aluminum.
It's extremely important that we be seen to be standing up for ourselves. The impacts of $1 billion of American alcohol being taken off the shelves of the LCBO.
But not all provinces agree. Saskatchewan says it's time to start fresh with the U.S. by removing or reducing counter tariffs.
Somebody's going to have to move in this space, and we would suggest that it should be Canada.
Well, let's take a deep breath here and stay calm.
Quebec's former premier and now a trade advisor to Carney says the government should wait for the right deal. Says about 95% of Canadian imports to the U.S. are actually exempt under CUSMA. Charest says many American businesses are against the trade war.
So we need to encourage them to speak up in defense of their own interest, which is becoming clearer and clearer as we push ahead.
And counter tariffs are not without risk. Canada was one of the only two countries to hit back in the initial phase of Trump's trade war and may now be bearing the brunt of his anger, says this observer.
So right now, Donald Trump is in a position where he can pick on Canada, make an example of us, and send a message to every other country.
For now, though, Canadian negotiators say they have not decided whether they will impose counter tariffs in the short term.
And Rafi, is anyone providing any hints at all of why there was no deal?
LeBlanc seemed to suggest that there was no viable deal on the table. When he spoke to journalists yesterday, Donald Trump complained about dairy protections, but Canadian officials say the Americans have accepted there will be no concessions on supply management. LeBlanc expects to speak to his U.S. counterpart again next week before returning to D.C. later this month. It's not clear, though, whether Carney has spoken to Trump since the higher tariffs kicked in.
Rafi Boudjikanian in Ottawa, thank you.